media that is available to us to get it communicated to them what exactly we're doing, because the bottom line is they don't get it. And a lot of the community, a lot.
Probably at least 67 people.
69.
No, but you convinced too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that, I'm not sure what they said when they had people sign a petition, and at the top it says, "We, the residents of Heritage Lake, are against the building and storage unit on 32 acres at the south end of the lake." I guess I could, I thought about doing this. I thought about calling all those people and asking them why they signed the petition. I just thought about it briefly though, Tom. I didn't call them. I don't know. Those are good questions.
So, yes, sir. The presentation at the last meeting made by the community identified the problems with the idea, and every one of the ideas was false. So all I can presume is that when these signatures were solicited, they told them things that were not true.
I would agree.
And so, Tom, I look at that with a grain of salt. They didn't even know what they were arguing about. His own words in this room, they were false, what he was saying we were doing.
But even if it was false, and a lot of it was, what they were saying, it's still perceived out there.
Not arguing that.
Okay, but it's what I'm saying
So
is
what
we
do
gotta
you-
change that perception
What are we
somehow.
proposing? Are we gonna send a letter to everybody? Or at least to the boat owners?
I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna do this, but I think we need to explain it better, what we're doing here and what we wanna
Would
do.
it be
Now,
worth
do
having
we-
something written up and available at the marina? People are gonna be pulling their boats out here like in the next couple of weeks. Maybe we have something written up to be available at the point that they're gonna be going in and out. Pick up a flyer, right? Let's write some facts down and
Well, this
give a
isn't gonna
summary
be
of what it's gonna
done.
be.
Now, no, what are you saying?
We're not having a building in this year.
No, we have time, but that's not a bad idea. What's our job as a board?
To do what the
Take care of
community
town
wants.
Properties, help with the budget, and develop revenue sources is my part of it. Big parts of it.
And to be
I
a
don't
representative.
have a problem with, I think we should find a way to communicate this better to the public, to our neighbors. The bottom line here is, if you're not convinced that this is a good project for this community, then you shouldn't vote on it. You should vote down. If you're convinced that it's a good project for this community, were the slips, did we send out a questionnaire for all the slips?
No, sir.
I don't know, you get what I'm saying here? Every time we come up with something as a board,
Did we have the backlash the last time, though?
what's that?
When did the slips? I mean,
Not when we first put it
I don't
out.
remember that.
We put out, like 10 first time around, or 20, and then, they filled out, we had a waiting list, so we put more in the next place we could find. And it just kind of went, a time around the lake. I mean, it's kind of,
How many we have?
how many slip rentals do we have total? Deborah, help me.
Okay, that's 36 slips,
Close to 50.
Slips.
Slips and tie-ups.
and then tie-ups we have,
Problem is, we really don't have any place to put it anymore. slips on county property.
Say about
Running right over here and have to have
Five.
a
Well, you
sign.
don't, yeah.
All
You know, to put things in a very relaxed, I'm not coming up with the right word. To put things in perspective, not formally, but just to put things in perspective here. We've had some people in front of us bring up issues of why we shouldn't build this boat storage. The same number of people have contacted Ken and myself that have been at these meetings and heard all these facts or proposals that are overboard positive about this. So, as a community, I can only say what I'm hearing is equaled out. The people that I'm hearing from that have reasons why we shouldn't do this, I think we've solved those problems. If somebody's still against it, that's why I want you guys to have the numbers and to bring it up again in the next board meeting. And for some reason, I think the word's gonna get out we're doing that. And maybe we'll hear some more reasons why we shouldn't build it. And then go from the next board meeting. I don't wanna vote tonight. I don't wanna vote the next board meeting. And then if you guys feel like we need to communicate with them in a formal way of what we're doing so we can get their input, I'm fine with that. We got time.
Got an idea.
Okay.
Well, we'd be doing an e-blast, and we set next board meeting, 6:30. And the first part of that, we'll discuss this project. We'll send an e-blast to.
Public forum?
Yeah, we'll just
Okay,
have
okay,
a
okay.
public thing,
All right.
you know, tell us what you think about the boat storage. Show up, we can even meet downstairs.
Why don't we say this? Why don't we say 6:30, we'd like you to show up to get the facts about the boat storage,
Okay.
and it will be an open forum.
There you go. That's fine,
6:30?
however you want to word it, but I'm,
Well, I don't wanna see a bunch of people coming in here and screaming and yelling about they don't want the boat storage unless they've heard the facts.
right. Oh, that's true.
I mean, if somebody came to me and said, there's a great possibility here of making $2.5 million for this community just by building a damn boat storage, I would turn my head and say, really? Is that possible? That's my feeling.
So we have the construction costs. And I don't remember, Ken, if you previously answered this. Is this gonna require additional staff to support
No,
running this at all?
I don't believe so.
No maintenance, no,
Well, there's gonna be some casual maintenance, but I don't think it's. I think I figured out at one board meeting what the man hours that was going to take to monitor it for the 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out kind of thing. It did not add up to that much.
those are just gonna be spurts and you can do it with the staff that you
Yeah,
have.
yeah, it wouldn't warrant hiring anybody else. I just cracked the whip and leave.
24 hours in a day, man.
So, do we want to do that? I don't know how to get it out any better than what we're trying.
Okay.
I mean, we've been discussing this thing now for 5 months, 4 months at least, and, you know, we've had public input.
Is that all?
They obviously got the word out the last time, that's why.
And it shows that we're willing and we're asking for people to come and talk about it with us. We're not trying to push it out. It's come, give us your ideas, give us your thoughts, because I mean, we don't ever want to walk away and say, we did it even though we knew people didn't want it. I mean, we want to give people every opportunity to come and say what they want to say, voice their opinion.
Well, we're gonna-
We're not pushing it on anybody. We're trying to do this the right way with community input.
there are obviously gonna be people that don't want it, and we're just gonna have to decide whether or not we think it's a good deal for everybody here. They have an election coming up, they get one every year.
One last thing. I think just the biggest thing about it, and it's no secret, I'm not real big on trying to see how much money we can spend. We need to look at this thing in the context of our other priorities. And we've got the Marina project, the Covenant project, we got the Jefferson Pond second half we're gonna be doing. We got the riprap to reduce erosion that we're probably gonna be working on. And I think we as, and leadership, need to be able to coalesce and find out what can we do. Paul showed me his numbers a little bit ago. I pushed back on every single thing he said. I can't say I was in agreement with his answers, but he had answers. So I think he deserves an airing. And, but everybody should look at it in the context of all the other things. We got a lot of money on the table.
That we do. So, do we wanna do this before or after the next board meeting, or how do you wanna do it?
I like 6:30.
I like 6:30 myself.
6:30 to 7?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is there a way we can make sure we reach those 67 people?
I will be glad to personally contact the two people we talked to. Who was this, one of them was the spokesperson here, so, I mean, he got a hold of 59 people or whatever, 69 people to sign the petition. I would assume he can get a hold of them to attend the meeting.
Maybe he should reach out.
That's the best I can do. No, I can't guarantee if I walk up on, talk to each one of them, they would remember the next day
I
that we have this
didn't, I
meeting.
didn't ask for a guarantee, I just wanted to know, would
I
there
think
be
we
a way to
can make a
notify?
very
the
good
six-
attempt at it, yes.
We or the gentleman that did the.
I will contact Terry and let's go from there.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna handle this before the meeting. It's not a board item. It'll be pre-meeting fact finding or fact distribution thing. Okay. Thanks, Paul. And this is, I love that $2.5 million. Electronic voting. For some reason, they got tabled last month. I guess because we didn't have quite enough information, or not really sure what it is. I thought we had, and I don't remember, did we vote on that once before? Was that the second vote? No, it's all under new business, sorry. Okay. There were obviously some questions about whether or not we should go ahead and proceed with this electronic voting. So let's discuss what those problems were, see if we can't figure it out.
One of them was how we're gonna get an accurate email list.
Okay? I mean, the same way we try to get accurate email, or mailing addresses, I would assume it's gonna be a year-long, or 2 or 3 year-long process, from what I understand, right? To gather this information. The office staff is willing to try to keep up to date with the emails.
Constant maintenance too.
And from what I understand, I mean, I wasn't quite understood what happens at Butler. Every student has to have a Butler email.
Will that work here?
I don't know if we could even do something like that. Can we do something like that here?
The issue would be, sure, if you hire a company to host your email server, right? If you hire a company to host your email server, there would obviously be cost in the hosting, and there would obviously be cost in assigning the email addresses.
Do we know what kind of cost that would be? Do you have any?
I don't have a feel for it. I know the Putnam County commissioners, they were looking into such a project, so and I don't remember the quote on the quotes, you know, how much it would cost.
And then the advantage of that would be that everybody here would have to have one, or everybody here that wants to vote electronically would have to have one.
Anybody who would want to vote electronically would have to have one, correct?
And you can't do it off their normally email that they have now, is that?
Well, you certainly can do it, it's a question of getting an accurate email.
I had talked to Darcy, and Darcy is committed to helping us throughout the end of the season, through the winter, to work part-time to help us kind of capture some of the accurate information.
Okay, are there any other concerns besides manpower that are trying to keep the things updated? Or do we want to look into this hosting the service? I mean, if you tell me I have to have a POA.com address, I mean, I can change that anytime I want to, right? Or not pay attention to it, or whatever I want to do. Same as I got my CCRTC address, right?
Time to change that too.
Good Lord, I just got rid of my slip phone. Give me a break.
Just got rid of his old hearing aids. That's 2 things this year.
2 things in the last 3 months.
That's my only concern. The major concern is the manpower involved, and I understand you just made the remark that Darcy would be working part-time to try to pull that list together. The other thing we don't know about 100% is, will Putnam County accept electronic voting? It's never been tested in court, and our attorney is more than willing to be the representative that would do that for us. But I think it's just unknown that we should enter in knowingly going with that. It's never been tested in Putnam County, to my knowledge. It's never been tested in Indiana, to my knowledge either.
The whole electronic signature thing has not been tested?
Electronic voting.
Voting.
Voting, not signature.
I
Voting.
don't know.
Tom, every day I upload confidential information into Indiana courts. I have their signatures on the documents. I have my notary stamp on their documents. The court accepts them. They get divorced. It takes care of children. And to say that they wouldn't accept that for a POA vote is ridiculous. And I had an attorney on my own dime in Danville that went and talked to the Putnam County clerk. And she said, well, yeah, as long as you can certify that those are their addresses. And I gave you a copy, this thick, of all the documents that told you the certification process they have. They're lined up with the federal government guidelines. So, you know, if you guys want to get, I did not propose, by the way, getting a Heritage Lake specific email address. And if you think that's important, then you need to take over that part of the project. I'm done.
I didn't say that it's important. I didn't even bring up that topic of doing it. And the only thing I said, which is a true statement, is electronic voting has not been challenged yet in Indiana.
So how do you propose that we resolve it?
No, that's all I'm saying.
But no, how do you propose to resolve it? Because we're trying to move forward instead of allow something like that, a paper tiger, to stop it from going forward. How do you propose?
All I'm saying is we should go into it with open eyes.
I believe we have. We've consulted with our attorney. You were in the room.
Correct, and he said what I just stated. I mean, Jim, I don't, as far as electronic voting is concerned, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. Some people will take advantage of it, other people won't. So I think it's wonderful. I'm just saying out loud, these are some things we should understand. And as long as we all understand it, fine.
But Tom, it was our attorney told us his view of it. He said he did not say a test case. He said that was on another matter, if you'll remember what that matter was. He said he couldn't think of any reason why they wouldn't accept it because they accept all of his documents that he uploads in the court.
Okay.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I could tell you're very passionate about it, and I don't.
No, I'm tired of doing the work and then having something like that get thrown down over $1,700. That's what's got me passionate.
Okay, anybody have any other concerns? This will go on new business A.
Okay with
Adding
me?
expenditure.
You know,
Anybody
about
have any problems with that?
5 or 6 years ago, we did the telephone book, and we took, volunteers took pages of it. We went through the entire phone book, called every person that was in that phone book, crossed off the ones that weren't here anymore, added on people that we could find. Do we have a list that if we got a bunch of volunteers together and they divide them all up into, that's what we did, they would give us like 4 or 5 pages. I mean, I sat there for days calling people, but we got it all updated. That's what,
Yes,
you think we
we have
could
the list.
do something
We
like
have the
that?
list.
And then, you know, all of us, you know, get some volunteers together, then we'll get it updated. And when we call, ask what their email is, ask them what their current phone numbers are, their current addresses, who lives there, and maybe get this thing updated.
But it's gonna be
We
a
do-
multi-year task.
We do that every year. We ask everyone, Harold can confirm this. We ask for updated phone numbers for the book. We ask.
You call
them-
every person in the book?
No. We ask through the highlights, and we
Yeah.
ask on the invoice for their email address, phone number, any changes. And a lot of those folks will put it in there, and it's the same one. We've had a lack in the system of taking out the ex-owners, so that is being caught up on a daily basis. We get inquiries all the time, so it's a matter of catch-up, and Darcy's very fluent with it. We pulled it up, we pulled the list of undeliveries, and in less than a half an hour, we had the information. So it's not that far out. It's being worked on, and we take it seriously in the office to ask everybody.
Yeah, I know you do.
There might be 15% that we missed because they phone it in, they're in a hurry, what have you, but that's a lot less than the 60 or 70% that's being put out there.
And some people don't even do it, do they? They won't tell you.
Some people won't tell you, some people do not have a computer and will not get a computer. You can't force that on them, like the EDU gentleman was saying, but it's a working process, always gonna be a working process. Technology is, so.
Okay, so we can incorporate all those ideas. All right. Next item on the agenda is conservancy properties. Tom brought this up, and
What was the electronic voting gonna be?
first, it's gonna be new business A.
Okay, thank you.
A year and a half ago or so, there was an ad hoc committee that went through and looked at, I believe, 20-some properties that the Conservancy owned that we thought we might be interested in. That ad hoc committee, you should have a table somewhere that lists all the properties that they all are owned by the Conservancy. None of them are deeded, none of them are improved, a few of them are buildable. And then there's the question was whether or not the adjacent property was improved, and you have that. The committee also looked at different uses for these things, and then they prioritized. So this is the list. It basically got lost until, I think like you brought it up in the last board meeting, or the Conservancy brought it up, or somewhere along the line, you know, they're kind of holding out on these properties and wondering what we want to do with them. At this point, you know, I guess it's my feeling that we should try to, we looked, they'd offered us a thing with $99 lease for $1.
99-year lease.
99-year lease for $1. I think we, you know, there were a couple questions we had with it, you know, regarding, you know, so we lease it from them, so it would stay their property. These are properties that haven't, you know, that they picked up during the commissioner sales and sheriff sales. Nobody's been paying dues on them, they haven't been paying their assessments or anything, you know. As far as we're concerned, our assessments, as far as the conservancy, they haven't been paying any of those things. So there's no lost revenue if we would happen to pick up these areas. What I would like to see, or, you know, I guess I'm proposing that we negotiate or talk with the Conservancy about every one of these properties becoming under our control somewhere or another, or available for our usage. Whether we even, I mean, at one point, I mean, obviously, if the long-range plan is adhered to, we would be looking for additional green space. Because right now we have 1,406, is that right, Dwayne? Homes? Pardon? 1,406 houses?
1,400 and, I think it's 7 now, but.
7.
Yeah, I just signed another deed this week.
Okay. So we have 1,407 homes out here. The Conservancy, what I've been told, can handle up to 2,200. We have 29 something, and with multiple owners and deeded lots together, somewhere around 2,600 or 2,700 potential lots out here. Personally, you know, we don't have enough green space right now. Of course, I'm a parks person, so I would think that, but that's the way it is anyway. It's too bad. So anyway, I think we should try to work with the Conservancy and get all of these, and I would like to have the board approval, and we can put this on new business B to go ahead and proceed with these folks to take over these pieces of property. You'll also find 2 maps, or 2 pages, the maps that are in their circle where the properties are. If you have time in the next 2 weeks, kind of cool, just drive by and see what you think. I'm not saying that we develop these at any time soon, but we maintain them under our care so that when we do want a pocket park or whatever we decide we want, bus stops, who knows what. Silk ponds, some of these are, I think we're access to the north end there where the tornado came through and did damage. We looked at some of those properties to get access to that. And so anyway, that's what I would like to recommend, that we put this on new business B and vote on whether or not we proceed with this. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Has there been any, on this, has there been any consideration about, I know we're leasing for $1 for 99 years. What would they charge us to purchase this? I just have a little
Well, I would like to talk to
funny
them about
feeling
that.
about developing somebody else's ground.
I understand that, except we're putting docks on it all the time, so, on the other property they own. But I would like to be able to talk with them about that. I can come back here. Well, if we want to proceed with this, then, you know, I don't think we make any move yet, except then we start talking to the Conservancy, and I think I'd like for Ken and I to be able to talk to them about different options, and one would be to purchase.
Yeah, I just have a problem.
And if we purchase, then we need to bring it over, and to prevent taxes, we need to convert it into common property. And I don't know what the process for that is either, but we would check with the attorney.
I just have a problem with, you know, developing somebody else's property. I mean,
Right.
I understand, you know, the conservative, but what if that would change 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, you know, and we've got stuff on it.
That's true.
If we could, you know, if we could.
So it's just, right now, it's just the idea we want to proceed on all of these lots, and then we would negotiate or work with the Conservancy somewhere or another. Then bring back a proposal and to vote on it later.
Hey, Charlie,
Yes, sir?
Ken, on, a lot of these are frontage on the streets. Do we maintain those for the Conservancy? You know, like if something gets real nasty, do we like trim bushes and stuff that are hanging out on the street and all that, or?
We'll mow roadside. I
But
think
we
it's-
do that, they don't, already we do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Can we back charge that and call it even?
Save a dollar. Save a dollar. So what, each one of these that circle, we would get,
Yeah, that's the one we would be, that's the ones that are listed on here, and then you can see the priority listings that we have, that the committee put up with each of these lots, and then they also had some potential uses that were very vague. Signage, silt, flood, recreation, and just access. And evidently, for some reason, we didn't look in it must not have very many in Mill Springs. Yes, sir.
or JB?
Just as a point of information to the board, that why this subject came up at the last conservancy meeting is those 27 or 25 or however many lots they are, we have held out. We have not had those people available to buy those lots. We've held those set aside for the POA. And if we just thought if the POA was gonna do something with them, fine. If they weren't, then we needed to not hold those any longer and go ahead and sell them to people if they wanted them.
Which brings up another point. We're approaching 1,000 boats on this lake.
Yes,
Keep that in mind.
I knew,
With every new house, there's usually a new boat,
or two,
or two.
or it could be up to 5. Right? Everybody can own up to 5 boats. Just,
So
that's
just
a
keep that in
thought,
mind.
it's no big deal. Not trying to alarm anybody. And we would need more boat storage.
And I don't know how far we've dug into this, but the $1 lease, there may be another way to do that, and that would be just incorporate those policies in under the agreement we have with the POA, that you maintain them and take care of them, we don't want anything to do with them,
Okay?
which would say, well, you wouldn't have a 99-year lease involved in that, if that would work out.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss all these things and take it to the attorney and get some, come back with some proposals on how best to try to do this so that we can develop these eventually if we want to. Or whatever. Or if there's an interest in more lots, then we get rid of them. So with no problems, we're gonna put that on the agenda for the new business B. Okay, everybody all right with that?
Good.
All right. Last item on the agenda, work truck. Mr. Roselle.
Okay, I'll try to keep this as less confusing as possible. I'll try to cover a couple options here. Start off with last week, Sean had drove our 2004 GMC to Plainfield to pick up a part. As pulling in the parking lot, his brake line broke. We had it towed to York Pontiac to have it assessed. It's got I think the bed has to come off of it to replace where the brake line is rusted into. So while they had it there, they kind of did a total assessment of the truck. Total assessment of the truck was, well, the brake line itself, the bare minimum, we could fix one side of it, which was $800. He highly recommended us, while we had the bed off, to replace both of them, which was at $1,600. Now, out of that $1,600, $1,150 of it is labor. I truly believe our guys could do this. They got it listed at 10 hours to complete. I think, Sean thinks it probably takes a little longer than that with not having the exact correct tools and stuff, but I feel like we could do it, save that $1,000. But there's multiple other concerns about the truck, totaling up, not counting this $1,600. Well, totaling everything, including the $1,600, totaled up to about $5,500. Obviously, some of the stuff, you know, it ranges from, just kind of go down the list. It's got an exhaust manifold leak, 585, ball joints, 1312, oil line, an oil line engine replaced, 633, power steering line hose, 545, oil pan gasket, was auto transmission, engine oil coolant, and all this stuff was 555. The serpentine belt, he said could go out about any times, 227. The two front tires need to be replaced, basically due to the ball joints, at 461 for the tires. We've got about 5 different codes that are showing up on it. The current problem we're having now with the codes, you'll drive it down the road and it'll just shut down its power and basically just pull along the road and wait for a little bit, come back up. The headlights aren't working. So you know, I think, you know, we could probably, this thing has got some issues. So, you know, Charlie and I chatted about it this morning, and you know, I really studied this over the weekend, and I just hate to see putting money to this old beater that we have. So this is what I come up with. We have in our new equipment, we have $38,667 remaining. I have received 3 estimates. I am planning on requesting purchase of 2 mowers this year because we're on our 3rd year for the mowers, and we're looking at $23,000 for the 2 mowers, which would leave us $15,667. I did ask them today what our current mowers are worth if I resold them. He said around $4,000 to $4,500 a mower with 1,000 hours each on it. So you're looking at, you know, roughly $8,000 back on the mowers. But so with the $15,000 remaining, I think we can get us a nicely used single cab, just a work truck to replace this 2004.
Is it 2004 or a single cab?
Yes, it is. It's a 2500. It is the one that we put where a lot of the rusting has come from. We put our salt spreader on it in the winter, and it also carries the snow plow.
Would we be able to get anything off of that at all?
Well, Charlie blue booked it, and it's 3,700 to 5,200. I'm going to say if we
could pay $5,500 and make it worth $32.
what I would suggest with that one, I would
Trade it in.
probably just
You could probably get the blue book if you trade it in to a decent dealer, I would think. Without, they're not gonna know all these things.
Jump's about 280 a ton.
Well, unless you take it to there.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a good point. Jumps about 280 a ton.
We still need something to carry that salt though, right?
Yeah.
To move that, pull that thing around.
You're still gonna need a 2,500 or 250,
350 or 250.
F-250 or something like that, of that size.
Uh-huh.
You know,
We get some tax advantage by doing that.
I'm just thinking, you know, something like a 2500 series with maybe even a flatbed utility bed on it, instead of maybe even some really nicely used work truck.
Is it 2,500 3/4, is it half, or?
That's a 3/4 ton. It's, equivalent to a Ford 250.
All right.
But I would say if we put any money in this thing, I would say for $400, we fix the one side ourselves and sell it outright, if we want to do that. Or not assume any kind of liability and just trade it in. So, I mean, you sell it, sold as is, and, that covers.
How many miles
covers
are on
it.
it? Yeah,
120,
Maybe about 125.
probably get 1,500, 2,000 out of it, if it's still on Craigslist, that thing.
That's, I was thinking 2,000, I think I wrote that down or somewhere. Yeah.
What's a new one stripped down cost?
Sell it, trade in. for
New one?
1,500.
New one stripped down, 27 to 30 on a Chevy, if, I don't know where a Ford sits at least that's a 1,500 V6,
How do you know that on the top of your head?
because I'm trying to buy one.
I'm thinking, geez.
Now, the good news is for
Is that the
Rain
3/4
Man.
ton?
No, that's a,
That's half ton.
that's half the, yeah.
Yeah, so another
Are you a
3/4
quick
ton,
driver?
another
What?
You're talking 35,000 at least,
Stripped down, yeah,
stripped down.
Oh, I thought you said
You know-
27.
Well, that was for a half ton.
for a half ton,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, well, we can't.
3/4 ton.
With a
You can't do
V6,
the half ton.
half ton with V6,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So we need an 8 then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we would need a V8 and at least a.
Yeah, 3/4 ton.
in our budget, if everything projects kind of the way I have it, we're gonna be about almost 12,000 over in revenue and about 135 under in expenses. So that's for
Like
you,
that.
that's for your brain.
We get some tax advantage, and if we get,
If I have any, we won't put this on, the only reason we have to vote for it, just because of the amount of the expenditure, so we just vote one time on it because it's on the budget, it's in the budget. Yes, sir? You don't want to go south?
If memory serves me right, we bought that truck, back there about 3 years ago, when you came in.
No, it's not that truck.
No, but the truck that we bought.
Yeah.
At the same time we was looking at it, I was on that project, and we was looking at, possibly leasing. A lot of people walk away from leasing, but it might be something that you think about, before we jump into this, is lease, think about leasing some of this equipment, because it's, the repair costs and the maintenance is what really beats you up. And I know when we bought that truck, they was pretty comfortable, leasing versus purchasing it outright. We decided to go outright with the truck, because at that time, I don't think there's anybody here that was on the board at that time. We were also thinking about purchasing a larger, like 2.5 ton dump truck. We went around and around on that. And it came down to, I'm only suggesting this, and if you need help, I'll help, but leasing was pretty close.
Is there any advantage of us leasing or not?
you just expense it over the year. I'm guessing depreciation would probably be 1,850 on 37,000 per year for 5 years. And that's probably, if you look at the lease and the deduction you get for the expense, it's probably about a jump ball.
Yeah, the only difference was the expense of maintenance was on, the lease over.
Yeah.
Those are still good for like, what, 12,000 miles a year?
You can get whatever, really whatever you want. A lot of.
Well, this one doesn't have much more than that on there.
I mean, we don't do a lot of miles here, do we?
No. we
That'd be a
don't.
lot of trips around the lake.
130,000.
No, I think we only figured like 10,000 miles a year.
I don't even know whether this truck was purchased new or not, but
I don't think so. I doubt it.
I know it's, I will say that the one that we did buy, that Sean drives, I mean, it looks as new as it is the day we bought it.
Yeah.
Now, I can't,
We bought that when I was here.
that, That 2004 is, you know, over the years have been treated kind of rough, but I wouldn't tolerate it, but it was,
Well, it don't sound like it's worth putting money into.
If you get a price on the leasing and you get a price on used one, that's what we do.
Construction lease of some sort, I mean, tell them that you're gonna use it for construction, if you think they're gonna be that, because what I've experienced construction workers are pretty hard on trucks and. they
Probably
lease-
different than a regular lease.
Yeah.
so
Different
can,
waivers. and
so
that.
can you, are you talking about checking into a lease of a used one or a brand new one? I didn't know. that
New,
you-
I think you got it.
Can you, I didn't know. that
When you,
But I mean, I don't know if there's a different, like, if I went in and leased a car as a person, or went in and leased a car as a business for a construction company, there may be a different title or,
Definition of wear and tear.
yes, definition of wear and tear
Yeah.
on.
Right.
I would think if you're gonna lease, you're gonna lease a new one, and then 3 years from now, you're gonna lease another new one.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what we want to see, the comparison. If we're gonna pay monthly on a new truck, then we turn it in 3 years and we get another new truck.
Yep.
And 3 years after that, we get another new truck.
Right.
Hey, I did misspeak.
As long as we can keep within the mileage, I think we're in pretty good shape on
Mhm.
those things, aren't we, on the leases?
Yeah, we,
So let's get those two prices on there, we'll put it on this as new business C. Anybody have any other questions or concerns
I
about
did
it?
misspeak one thing. The depreciation's 7,500. The tax savings per year is 1,800. So over the 5 years, we've recovered back about 9,000 in tax savings.
and leasing or buying?
No, I'll be buying, but they all end up about the same because one of them is completely deducted in the year that you use it. And you're not paying 37,000, you're paying 1,200 a month or, you know, whatever we're paying. So you don't get as big a deduction. When you look at it over the whole life of it, they're about the same. But he's right, the maintenance parts, that's on them.
That may be the best thing to do.
Maybe.
So get those prices, we'll do that. Anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Are we done?
Everybody said it, aye, I think. We need to adjourn.
All those that didn't stay here?
All of them stay here, that's right.
See you next week.
All right, thanks.
I don't think so. Do we have anything? Jim, did you want, we need contact cover? No. Meeting's over, we're done. Well, thanks. Phil, I need to see you.
I hit go, and I hit go, and I hit publish, and I hit go, and I hit go.
I put on my Ford hat on purpose because I had a feeling for 20 years.
It doesn't turn it off. Wait.
Jeremy? Oh, wait, okay.
He said to turn it off, you just slide it.